Hey, what's up everyone? If you're looking to put a Corsair SF750 in your NZXT H1, then this is the video for you. A couple of days ago, I had a commenter ask me about the tight fit that I was showing in my original video and how it ended up working out in my current case. And I want to show you how it looks right now and what you can do to actually improve how it is all set up inside of your case. So let's get right into it.
I'm about to play Smash. Trying to get some cash. I'm gonna get a rash. Hey, it's Rash Balash.
Okay, so first you just want to open up your case, get all of the shells off, and here you'll see the current setup for my Corsair SF750. It looks okay, but it's actually super tight for both the socket, the wire here, and let me show you something about how the actual socket hits this metal bar here. Alright, so I have the socket out, which as you can tell is being really messed up by how tight of a fit it is here. And then here we have the actual socket and the plastic piece that goes around where the plug plugs into is actually hitting the metal frame of this case. So it's actually not a flush fit, it's actually the PSU. If this is the wall, the PSU is actually kind of like this because of that plastic surrounding piece of the metal of the plastic socket. So yes, you can do this. It works completely fine. It actually gives you a lot of room up front because you can put a lot of cables here. You'll have more room for that. And for example, if you were going to replace the front with a like I showed you in another video, then you can also, this actually might be preferable. But let's say you want a fit where the wire isn't getting messed up or anything, then what you can do is actually get these 30mm 632 screws. I have everything linked down below if you want to actually do this. And you'll need 4 of these. And then you'll get some nylon spacers. So why don't I show you guys how that looks, and I'll give you all the measurements for everything. And so let's just hop right into it. So first what I need to do, I'm gonna remove the front and I'm gonna unscrew everything that's holding in the PSU here, and then I'm going to push it back and replace the current screws with these new ones. Alright, so once you get your screwdriver, now unfortunately to replace the PSU or to move it around, there are 2 screws up here that you're gonna have to unscrew so that you can actually move around the PSU. And unfortunately that also requires unscrewing all these screws around the top, or at least most of them, until you can move this top shell just enough so that you can unscrew these for the PSU. So I'm gonna start around this corner and make my way towards this corner, and hopefully I'll be able to dislodge this top part just enough so that I can unscrew the PSU, but we'll see what happens. Also, while you're unscrewing these, make sure to keep track of where all these screws originally go, because some of these screws might end up being different sizes. I'm not exactly sure. Even if I'm wrong about it being different sizes, it's better to be safe than sorry. Okay, I was able to dislodge the top part just enough, but now I need to remove these 2 screws that are on this side so that I can actually pull this bar back. All right, there we go. So now we have just enough space to be able to remove these 2 top screws as well as the bottom ones. So let me remove these and then I'm gonna go over the new screws with you guys. So I have those 4 PSU screws here that were holding it in. Now I can kind of push it around. That's all you have to do. So I removed about 6 screws from the top, 2 screws from the side here, and then 4 screws from the PSU. So it's really not that bad. Okay, so let me go over these screws with you. So first off, you're gonna need 4 of those 30mm 632 screws. Now these longer screws here, so these are going to be your new power supply screws. These are going to hold in your PSU. Now the reason why they're so long and why we got the spacer is so that this cable can actually go inside and fit. So these spacers are going to go along the screw and then leave just enough room for your power supply unit to actually be screwed in and held in tightly. These are 30mm long. You're gonna have to use 25mm spacers. I couldn't find any. I got a whole case for about $10 where there's a bunch of different sets. So for example, there's a couple 10mm pieces, there's a couple 5mm pieces. So you can probably see where I'm going with this. I want to put in 2 10mm and 1 5mm piece. And that's going to allow this to screw in nicely to the power supply unit, and the power supply unit won't, you know, keep sliding around or just be like partially screwed into the screw. It'd be kind of weird. So this will work perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to get 8 10mm pieces, and then I'm going to get 4 5mm pieces, and that'll make up the 25mm for each screw. And then it'll be perfectly held in for the power supply. So let's actually do that right now. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my power supply unit just a bit back, and this should be fine. This whole set is organized by the different lengths. So up here are the 10mm pieces. So there's 10 of them, which is perfect because I need 8 of them. And then I'm going to grab the 4 5mm pieces. Now, because there's a bunch of different lengths here, you can honestly do a whole different bunch of setups. Like, for example, there's 21mm pieces and 4mm pieces. You could do 4 of each. Honestly, that's probably a better idea, but I've already committed to this, so I can't give up now. Now that I have all of these spacers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide them onto each screw while it's still on here. Honestly, this will be easier if it's like your first time installing the power supply. This is probably the most difficult part because it's kind of uncomfortable to reach into here. Here's what it's going to look like. So you'll basically have the spacer, and the screw is going to have, you know, a little bit of space here as well from going through this metal frame. And then this end here is going to screw into the power supply. All right, let me give you guys a little bit of a better angle of exactly how I'm doing this. Up around here is this little screw hole. And then you can see a screw right there. Now I'm going to take these spacers. I'm going to just slide them on one by one. This is where removing the whole top shell honestly might be kind of clutch. Alright, and now that I have that in, I'm going to screw it in so that the pieces don't fall off. Alright, and now once you have everything screwed in, you can take your plug and plug it in without any issues. You see this cable isn't getting pressed up and smashed against this bar here, and now you don't have to deal with the socket hitting the top of this frame here. So overall, it's much cleaner. However, one thing I do want to mention, while the cables still look clean and organized here, and I mean they are, it's just a lot more pressure up on the front panel just because of how far the power supply was pushed up. Alright everyone, thank you for watching. Overall, would I recommend this? Yes, if you're worried about the socket being pressed up against that metal frame and your cable being messed up. One thing I do actually think would be a great idea is that now that I'm looking at it, there is actually a lot of space for this socket here. So you probably actually don't need to get such long screws and have all these spacers. What you could do is maybe get screws that are 20mm long, and you probably would be just fine with that, and then you'd have more space in the front for all your cables. Do I recommend doing this if you want to put in an LCD panel in the front? Definitely not, because you will not have space for that. These cables are pressed up extremely tightly, and the SF750 cables are really high quality, but there's also a lot of them, so you might run out of space, especially if you're trying to put in a whole HDMI setup for that front panel. I hope this was helpful, especially for the person who was asking for it, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Definitely be sure to subscribe and let me know if there's anything else you want to see.
This is the best day of my life. I met Rush the really famous YouTuber!